Hello, all. I thought I'd do a little introductory. My name is Tara. Um, yes, I can come across as rude or otherwise. I'm trying to try and be as non-rude or what have you, so that people don't take offense. But really, I don't have any diplomacy or tact or soft skills unless if you look at my arse. I'm 44 years old. I live in Edmonton. And with what I have, um, it's not fun. I have autism and ADHD. Um, and I also am smart enough to look up things. I have a very inquisitive mind, especially when it comes to disability and reading up on studies or watching videos about disability, especially around the neighborhood of multiple sclerosis, which is what I grew up with my mom and my brother both having it, and as well as ADHD or autism. And do you know what I found? Um, Most videos in 8 years that I've ever seen um, are indicative of showing nothing more than little boys with autism or people like adults, males, especially males, under 30, and often, actually, about 90% of the time that I've ever run across a video or a study, it is indicative that the study is based on the severity, the more severe issues of autism or ADHD. Um, what I have is primarily still considered a boy's disability when here I am. I'm married. I have a wonderful husband who I love dearly. And I tell you, there are days where there's so much stress in my life and in my marriage because of what I have that it's hard on both of us. Without the right resources and the right um, staff or people, workers in my life, it makes our marriage like a huge gauntlet um, because you don't know how to um, communicate some days, especially on your bad days, where you're borderline meltdown or not able to process things properly. And that's the hard part because I have an invisible disability. I don't use canes or chairs or whatever to tell people, hey, look, I have what I have. And thus makes things even harder because those in a wheelchair, at least they have the ability to get accessibility. For me, my accessibility means properly trained staff, such as a disability skills coach or somebody trained in the disability field, which deals with the neurological or cognitive delays that someone like me may have. The other part of my issues is that the programs here in Edmonton are built on a funnel system that service mainly people that are, well, severe or more childlike in nature. And that's not right either. When programs should be basing their ways about all disabilities based on the person's need or interest or ability, as well as age and health. I tell you, what I was at 20 ain't going to be what's happening now. um, my heart has always been in the world of disability. It's what I know because I was born with what I have. And what people don't realize is that um, autism is a spectrum disorder. So how it affects me isn't going to affect Gonda in the same way. Sorry, Gonda. You were the first thing that came as an example in thought. 3 hours of sleep ought to do it. Anyway, and truth be told, some of us are born with the skills of tact and diplomacy. So you might say, Gonda, sorry, um, that she is my yin to my yang. I am the, uh, well, the blunt one, the one that most people would consider rude because of the way I do things or word things or say things. And I always tell people, don't listen to my voice. That's always going to sound rough no matter which way you look at it. But if you listen to my words, you listen and hear my words with your and look past the roughness. You look past the rough exterior and the harshness of what I sound like. I know for some that may be difficult, but really my heart is in the right place. Unfortunately, sometimes my thought process may not be. um, my abilities are in the creative sense. I can imagine and I know what things should look like long before they are built. But yet, you asked me to explain the simplest things in life. Sometimes one plus one just doesn't add up. And that's a part of my communication. For me, yes, I know how to communicate, but for me, I people don't like to listen because of the way I am. I am blunt by nature, and sorry to say, if you take that as rude or belligerent or whatever, then you're taking it the wrong way. Because it may seem that I'm angry sometimes or frustrated. Yeah, I'm frustrated. Yeah, I'm angry. I'm frustrated at the fact that what our government system and our healthcare system has done in 30 years is beyond deplorable to all sectors of disability. It doesn't matter if you can't walk or can't speak. The fact is that needs are not being met. They are only servicing the um, the symptoms, not the person itself. To address one's illness or disability, you have to address the person as a whole in order to help the person. You cannot just address one part of an issue and hope that the band-aid fix works or holds. How an HCA may address an issue for someone who cannot walk or has mobility issues if one is senior or needs a Hoyer lift due to circumstance would not be able to address me in the same way that a disability skills coach could. HCAs are trained to do ROMs, range of motion, and all that stuff. All the things that I was taught to do from the time I was 15 and have been doing since I was 15. Yes, I know what an HCA does because I had to grow up with it. Fact is, I've run circles around HCA people when it comes to my friends who have MS. Because an HCA is ill equipped to understand the tricks on how to take a person up off the floor using a Hoyer lift if they cannot walk. Instead of calling an ambulance, which is a $200 drop for every time that they get called to be pulled off the floor by, gorgeous men. Um, yeah. Um, that's your food money if you live on AISH and you depend on it. And that's not right. An HCA should be able to think outside of the box and figure out how to lift the person using a Hoyer lift or the tools that be within their skill sets and put them on the bed or a chair or whatever happens to be of safest mode. If the bathroom is too small, what does it take to put the person on their side and slip a blanket or a towel underneath if the floor is linoleum or wood? Find anything that is slippery, and if the person can hold on to the blanket or what have you, use it like a um, transfer pad, but you slide them across the floor to a safe area for which a Hoyer lift or a lift period could be used and help them up. So simple, but yet they can't figure that out. Fact is that I do have autism and ADHD. Some days are good, some days are bad. I'm working on about 3 hours sleep, people. So today might be a little bit more harsh than others. Sorry. That's just the way it is. I don't think anybody is in their right of mind if they have had as little sleep as I have. I've been up since about 6:30, already shoveling snow. Yes, that is how I help my apartment building. I also help a lady with MS just down the street who cannot walk. I help my friends as much as I can. Some of them I have watched die slowly due to an illness that even doctors don't know the name of, really. But yet it's killing them at the cellular level and they're barely my age. And then there's friends that come into your life for reasons unknown. I quite appreciate Gonda and her candor and her personality. It kind of is refreshing. And she, I guess you could say, is my yin to my yang. She knows tact and diplomacy and knows how to talk to people, whereas me, well, if you can get past the rough exterior, you might say I'm the diamond in the rough. If you take me out of the dirt and shine me off, chances are you'll see the glow because my heart is in the right place. Don't mistake my bluntness, my crudeness, my rudeness, or my nature as anything but a kind hearted person. Because, as far as I'm concerned, it takes a woman who has lived a very hard life to do what I'm doing for those that have the inability to understand society norm, to speak out and say something. Because that is what issues like mine are, is I'm literally blind to society's norms. I do not get neurotypical behavior. I do not understand neurotypical behavior. I do not understand the mindset that these people have. What I do understand is the bigotry and the lack of education and lack of tolerance that people have to difference because they think that it's okay to banty a simple word around, but yet don't know the real meaning or the ramifications that it's doing in society, for which may be damning everybody. You see, if you're grandfathered into PDD here in Edmonton, because there's not the right resource for people that are older than 18 and, well, like me or Gonda, what you get is an HCA staff. I don't need an HCA staff. They're trained to the more severe needs or physical needs. I don't need someone to wipe my butt. Thank you. I am quite independent on that note. I also know how to dress myself. I do things for myself. I drive. I'm married. Yeah. But at the same time, in the same token, when you have a neurological cognitive delay, it makes life difficult because your emotional standpoint is where your mind matured. For me, that would be emotionally at 16, and I will be that for the rest of my life, even if, say, certain genetic factors kick in, such as, say, dementia or Alzheimer's. Both run rampant in my family, yay me. What I have is a genetic nature. You look at my family, about 90% of my cousins all have one invisible neurological condition or cognitive condition or another. And that's how the cookie crumbles in my family. And I don't know how to be any different other than what you see. If you know what a tomboy is, then you're looking at it square in the face. I, on my good days, I swear like a trucker. I tell dirty jokes like you wouldn't believe. Hell, just a few minutes ago, I had poor Gonda just about pissing herself laughing at all my freaking dirty jokes. I make fun of my age. I make fun of my disability. You know what? If you can't laugh at yourself, who can you laugh at? These days, everyone takes offense to just about everything. I'm sorry. But life is hard enough as it is. Why should we have to take everything so seriously? I am a fun loving lady who has lived a very hard life. I'm pretty sure many of you have lived a pretty hard life yourselves, but I also come from vocational programming. I know what that's all about. I also know what it's like to have a mother who fought for you to get the right services for what you needed as a kid. I got my fighting skills from my mother. And yes, my mom is a very formative woman in her own right, and so is all the women in my family. And I learned how to be tough because of her. I learned how to stand my ground because of my mother. I learned how to stand up and say something if I didn't agree with it. I don't hide, nor am I about to pussyfoot around a subject that I know that I love and believe in. So if you want to take me as rude, that's your choice. But I'm not about to change for you or anyone. I am me. I'm quite happy with me. Yes, I'm a tomboy. Yes, I swear like a trucker. And yes, I tell dirty jokes. But for God's sake, don't judge me because of how I am. Because if you judge me, you're also judging yourself. Just remember, when you point a finger at someone, you always point three back at yourself. So if you hold up that finger, count the fingers pointing back at you. I have no reason to judge you. You have no reason to judge me. You do not know me. You do not know where I come from. You do not know how I live. And if you have something to say to me, say it. I will not be offended. But know this, I'm doing this group as public because I want to teach people, especially all the neurotypicals out there, who think that it's okay to say, funny, you don't look autistic. Funny, you're a liability. Or funny, you don't look disabled. Or I go to an interview and I get liability thrown across. Or I see inclusion bandied around, but yet I'm not being included. Why? It's not right. It's not fair. I go to the advocate's office, and yes, I'm still angry about this because I told Jess straight to his face about it. I went to the advocate's office on December 22nd and asked for accommodations because I have short-term memory issues about certain things. I need to be able to remember certain details of meetings and or other. I'm sorry, but I don't remember details that well. I remember having the meeting. I remember sort of what happened. Gonda has a what I would call a picture memory. She's able to remember things that I wouldn't be able to remember. She was there that day. She knew I asked for accommodation. They blatantly said no because I needed a recording device in order to help me remember. And I asked him straight bluntly. If I had a wheelchair or some kind of aid that symbolized that I had a disability, or if I looked it or sounded like it, would you have given me those accommodations? The answer would have been yes because of Bill C-81. Such is the case for most issues. I get denied every freaking day. My accessibility rights are denied. All on account that I can walk, talk, think, look like everyone else. But yet, I have a condition that is invisible. Call it as you will, but I call an ace a spade. If it quacks like a duck, sounds like a duck, looks like a duck, then it's a freaking duck. I am not the kind of person that will sit there in a high, nice voice and placate issues. I have what I have, yes, but it doesn't mean that I am going to baby my issues. Yes, I have social anxiety disorder. You know what? I'm more afraid of my fuck ass future. Excuse the language and excuse the F bomb. But I told you, I swear. We are all adults here. Those are my struggles that I face. Funny, you don't look autistic. Funny, you don't look disabled. Funny, oh, I'm sorry, you're a liability. Even though that it's a job that I applied to and have experience for over 30 years in. Oh, I applied to a service that has to do with helping people with disabilities as a skills coach. I was denied that, but yet I can say one thing that most that come out of school don't have experience with. Do they walk the walk? Do they talk the talk? Of course not. They don't know what it's like to have the goddamn thing. They don't know what it's like to have autism. They don't know what it's like to have ADHD. What they see is in videos and books of severe kids. You know, when I went to Norquest at 39, when I first got discovered that I had ADHD, back then I had NOS as a diagnosis, not otherwise specified. Because when I was a kid, what I have was not really known, and I came from a small town of close-minded people. If you were slightly different, well, good luck to you. We don't want to be your friend anyway, but we'll sit there and make fun of you. That was my school life. I was the one they made fun of or beat up or whatever. But in all essence, even though bullies get bigger, those bullies also made me stronger. Thank you, bullies. Guess what? You're still assholes. I became a better person because I wear my heart on my sleeve. Yeah, I'm 10 times more likely to get hurt like that, but you know what? I'm the glass is half full kind of girl. With a side of sarcasm and realism. Because I have experience that nobody else will ever have. And trust me. All those that taught me how to be the woman I am, I thank them for. Because it's a tough world out there for those that don't know. And if you're blind to society and we're never taught how to be friends or have social skills, It must be even tougher for you because making friends is tough even for me. But if you just get out there and simply talk and try and get yourself out there and be known instead of hiding all the time, then you realize that life and what have you is not as scary as what you think it is. Yeah, there's lots of assholes out there, but you know what? There's also a lot of good people out there. I'm married to one of them. Yeah, I have my bad days, and on my worst days, I treat them like shit, but that's my autism. There are parts to my issues that I really can't control. On my bad days, yeah, I can be a right bitch. But you know what? I'm also a wonderful human. Someone that has dreams and goals and aspirations. And what I'm trying to do is not only bring in hope for children that are coming into adulthood because they'll be walking my path. For those that are out there that might get accepted for PDD, but there are many that won't because their IQ is so high. What are they going to do when they can't function in society and you as a parent are going to be 80 and health problems are your own? Who's going to be taking care of who then? What's going to happen when you go and as parents and your kid is left to their own device? How are they going to live? Are they going to be able to pay those bills? Are they going to be able to cook or clean? How are they going to live? Fast food is expensive, especially if you're on age. And if you're married, well, if your partner makes too much, you get kicked off of age. Oh, here's a good one. When you're 65, age is no more. You'd be so lucky to make 1200 off of CPP. And if you get CPPD, well, 800. Good luck. When the average rent is over 1,000. Never mind the bills that might equal out to about 800 a month if you have a house. And if you have a family, well, yeah, for per child at least 150 if you're lucky. Those things are eating machines. Cats are bad enough. I've got two. When you have the right supports in your life and you're married, it takes a lot of stress away. And I'm trying to bring in something that we all need: individualized programming through vocational services. Basically, in essence, for those of you that may live in Lethbridge, Peak Vocational Services. That's where I'm from. That's what I came out of. And I want one of those here in Edmonton. Hell, I want them all over Alberta like that it was 20 years ago. It's places like Peak that allow me to do things that I'm doing. That's why I work so closely with Jess. That's why I'm able to communicate. That's why I'm able to socialize. That's why I'm able to make friends. It's because they taught me how to be social. Unfortunately, I've long forgotten tact, diplomacy, and all that stuff because my neurological cognitive delays don't allow it. I'm 44 years old. I'm stuck at 16 emotionally for the rest of my life. They say act your age, and I usually say which one. Yeah, I know. A bad joke. So, like I say in the description, we are not here to judge you because it's not my place. Where you are in your life is not going to be where everyone else is. I'll never know what it's like to be in a chair for the rest of my life. Just like those of you that have mobility or issues will never know what it's like to have a cognitive delay or invisible disability. And that's my hope, is to teach not only society, but Jess, all forms of disability, and why I wish to bring a program that addresses all issues, not just little silos here and there that specialize here and there, when those silos couldn't be brought together by a program which helps everyone, but also partners with others. Thus, your team of disability staff are on the up and up of what the other is doing. Instead of treating the symptoms, you treat the person. I am so tired of the bigotry and the lack of tolerance and education that's out there concerning disabilities. In the 90s, disability was coming together, and then our government said, basically, gave us a huge rubber stamp with a huge FU, your services are cut. They couldn't touch those that were grandfathered into PDD, but they could touch the programs. Programs got cut, many closed down. How many of those that are like me are homeless? How many of those that are like me are 44 and living at home with mommy and daddy because they can't function? How many of those that are out there whose parents are dead and 24 but have the mindset of 13 or 14? How many of us have suicidal tendencies due to the lack of no help, no services, no nothing? And if you're grandfathered like I am, how many of us long for a day where we have supports and the right trained staff and to be allowed into PDD based on our diagnosis and not some stupid test that says that IQ is the same as cognitive or neurological? Cognitive is emotional judgment. Anyone can add 1 plus 1. That's IQ. When you have delays in your cognitive mindsets, or if you're emotionally 16, you can't ask someone that is of a 16-year-old tendency or emotional level to live as average normal people do without fail, without having supports for that 16-year-old mindset or that 14-year-old mindset or that whatever. How do you expect a person like me to succeed in a world built for neurotypical people? People that have no issues that are diagnosed. Their issue is that you cannot fix stupid. You cannot fix, but you can fix bigotry. You can fix lack of tolerance simply by education. And the more of us that educate people out there by knowing or touching people with our stories and our needs and why we need these services, then and only then will people stand behind us and not against us. And perhaps, maybe, the disability community can stand together once again, instead of being fractured as it is. Yes, I blame the government for doing this to us. It's time we fight back and speak out and stand up for what we believe in. We, as people with disabilities, physical or mental or invisible, it doesn't matter where you come from or your experience. What matters is your needs being met. You are a person, you have feelings, you have goals, you have needs that need to be addressed. And if you don't get them addressed, how do you function as a human? I tell you, you can't. I have a hard time. When I want my husband just to be my husband, he can't because he has to be my advocate. my worker, my whatever. You know what? That's not a husband's job. Yes, they're there for support, but there are certain factors that should never fall into a marriage. And that's where workers should be, not husbands. I don't like laying in the same bed as my worker, so to say. Yes, great. I love my husband's support. But really, this should fall on skill sets that come from those that are trained in the disability field, not a husband. What I find is that programs go to severe needs, or when it comes to Bill C-81, if you have physical attributes, great. Society is ready to put a divot in the sidewalk for you so you can get yourself around. But really, when you are denied accessibility just on the bias of how you look or how others see you or judge you, but they don't understand the backstory, it's kind of sad because the wheelchair for me, in my case, because my neurological condition does not allow for neurons to develop in certain areas because of where my brain matured at. It's like asking those of you that need a wheelchair to get around to suddenly walk tomorrow when we all know that your spinal cord will never grow back. My neurological condition does not allow for tact. It does not allow for diplomacy. It does not allow for soft skills. I am blunt by nature, and if you take me as rude, that's your choice. But understand, my heart's in the right place. And I'm sorry, but it is what it is. I call an ace a spade, and I will not um, soften the blow to suit your need. If you have sensory issues or you take offense to everything in this world, then maybe you should rethink about certain things that you take offense to and understand that maybe the reason why you take offense to things so easily is not because of me. It's because you don't understand, because you might have a neurological condition that does not allow you to understand. So, if you don't understand something, ask. As blunt as I am, I will tell you straight up. I will not lie to you, but I also won't soften the blow either, because I don't know how. That goes along with tact, soft skills, diplomacy. Yeah, you know what? When they say liability, think about the word. Beginning of it starts with a freaking lie. Liability. It's a legal term built on the bias that you are legally allowed to lie to me. Oh, guess what? If you haven't been told that one before, now you know the meaning. Simple as that. I am blunt, but I'm also honest. I'm brutally honest. I call an ace a spade an ace a spade. There's no gray zone in my vocabulary. You won't ever have to second guess of what I'm saying. It is what it is. And if being honest is offensive to you, then I guess I'm offensive. Take me as I am, people. What you see is what you get.